All right, so today's piece is Dynamic Motion by Henry Cowell. This is a piano piece, and I don't have a year on it on the score itself. It's actually, compared to the other scans I have, it's a little bit weird. It's not from some larger volume. It's just kind of like, it says Henry Cowell at the top. Um, okay, so it looks like we have silently depressed notes and resonance stuff. And then we also have these huge clusters, which I think you would have to, these like, basically you have both of your forearms around the same range of the piano, and the right hand's over the black keys, left, or sorry, the right forearm is over the black keys, left forearm over the white, and you're just doing these crazy like things. Um, yeah, one thing I've appreciated about all of these Cowell pieces we've been looking at is they're always still challenging and pianistic, right? He's not like using any of this as a special effect. He's like, this is a way of playing. Like this is just the way you can play the piano now. Um, Whereas a lot of people who use these techniques are more conservative. I mean, like this is right. It's crazy. You also have to like you can accent a single note at the bottom of your cluster. Yeah, this one's gonna be really intense. You got rolled clusters, um, like rolled forearm clusters, and yeah, okay. This is a good one to end on. For those of you who haven't been following along, there's several other Henry Cowell piano pieces, which have been given, like I've done a whole episode on each of them, and we've just been working our way more or less back in time, or what I thought was going back in time when I put them into my spreadsheet. Um, but this ended up being the last one, 1916. So it is one of the first ones. Here's what the manuscript looks like. That's interesting. So yeah, he's conceiving of the notation in multistaff right from the start. He wrote this as a teenager while studying at University of California, Berkeley, and it's the first tone cluster piece, and it's really crazy. Okay. He first presented it to Charles Seeger, his teacher at the time, and it seems like Seeger was very supportive, actually, but the two of them agreed that audiences would not respond well to this stuff. Um, but it was sort of like, for the sake of innovation, this needed to be performed. They were kind of in agreement on that. Uh, I guess Cowell was playing this on in concert tours himself, and then he wrote five encores. So if he performed this and it received a good response and he needed to do an encore, he would play one of these five. Um, but yeah, dynamic motion and its encores have elicited outrage, confusion, and outright violence at various concerts. So we got a lot of juicy little anecdotes to get into here. Um, this looks like the piece that really got Cowell infamous, um, gained him infamy, and made him the tone cluster guy. Okay, New York, March 31st, 1922. At the finish of Cowell's performance of Dynamic Motion, three women lay in a dead faint in the aisle, and no less than 10 men had refreshed themselves from the left hip. I guess drawn their swords or guns or something. October 15th, 1923, Leipzig. As Cowell progressed further into the concert, deliberately saving the loudest and most provocative pieces for last, the audience reception became more and more audibly hostile. Gasps and screams were heard. Uh, a man in the front row threatened to physically remove him from the stage. He recalls the audience was yelling and stamping and clapping and hissing until I could hardly hear myself. They stood up during most of the performance and got up as near as me and the piano as they could. Some of those who disapproved my methods were so excited that they almost threatened me with physical violence. Those who liked the music restrained them. The two groups began shouting over and confronting one another, which eventually turned into a large physical confrontation and riot on stage, after which the Leipzig police were promptly called. October 31st, 1923, in Vienna, one man began to scream, "Stop, stop," in the middle of Cowell's performance, and would not be quiet when shushed by audience members. Uh, but this was not as unruly or um, ridiculous as the Leipzig event. So there you go. Um, I think this is related to more his whole like set list at the time, all the different pieces he was playing, which I assume he composed. Um, but dynamic motion was apparently one of the more controversial ones, which he saved for the end of the concert. And then the encores, I guess, were even more crazy and controversial. So they weren't functioning as encores should function. They were just an extra thing to play to upset people even more. And I think that's kind of funny. Okay, I think I've rambled on long enough about this piece. There's a recording in the video description. I encourage you to listen to it with me, and I'll let you know my thoughts in just a couple minutes here. Okay, yeah, this was extremely entertaining. I really like this. Um, it's so theatrical and it looks really challenging to play. I love the use of silently depressed keys. Like this resonance at the end here, the way he brings it back is so cool. And then also you get effectively the silently depressed key thing here because you're holding this lower cluster so long. Just so cool. I mean, so many composers have gone on to use these techniques. It's kind of crazy that this was 1916 when he came up with them. Um, I mean, he may not have been the first, but uh, still, their application here is really, um, yeah, really intense. Uh, well, we may as well look at some of the YouTube comments to see if it's still outrageous. Um, when the family friends come over and their children get on the piano. I don't know if Cowell is delusional or an absolute genius. Anyone can play the piano like an untrained child, but it takes a master to play like an untrained child well. You see a lot of people like trying to sound smart and trying to be clever. Um, so I encourage those people to, listen to the piano series that I'm like 100 episodes in now. To get to know where this led people, how influential this piece actually ended up being over the next 100 years. But yeah, I get it. I get that this is like the provocative one, right? It's he tries to find other applications for clusters, like in the Three Irish Legends, which I think are a little bit more accessible. Whereas this, I think it is meant to provoke people, but that it's still really fun. Like I really enjoyed listening to it. Be really cool to see live. Um, so yeah, there's lots of other piano miniatures by Cowell, which are fantastic, and they all have unique experimental things they're trying to do. But I think this is where we're gonna have to call it in the piano series. Um, again, here are all the episodes we've done so far. Um, looking at all kinds of piano pieces by him, and the first episode we did on Cowell was actually his later music, which is not so experimental. You can go to that one if you want his biography. He's also a very fascinating guy with a very tragic life story. Um, but yeah, that's it for today. Let me actually pull up what should be tomorrow because I don't know offhand. Okay, next is actually the Six Little Piano Pieces by Arnold Schoenberg. Um, and it's a physical score, so I'll be recording with my phone instead.